Imagine yourself in the roaring 1920s, an era where women finally get to express themselves. The notion of the traditional woman is a thing of the past, as a new revolution has finally taken over. In an attempt to continue these ideals, you find yourself in the middle of a protest, with the two biggest leaders of women's suffrage, Alice Paul and Crystal Eastman, by your side, fighting for equality. Now, fast forward to a century later to 2020 and ask yourself, has the fight for equality been overcome, or is the fight still the same? As I think about this question, I feel that women have come a long way with regards to having rights and equality, although I feel that there are a lot of issues that still surround that topic. Today I will be discussing the reasons why the Equal Rights Amendment should be ratified, its benefits for women, as well as the issues that have stalled its progression for so long. In the present era of equality and rights, women have still not gained them completely in the sense that they are not included on paper. Now, the biggest issue with this is that it is very important to have the Equal Rights Amendment for its sole and basic purpose, and that is to have it included in the Constitution. For example, the Article Era Roundtable defends this notion as it states, constitutional amendments are permanent statements of principle that cannot be overturned without the passage of another amendment. Women deserve to have their rights given the level of respect and constitutional protection guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. In other words, the 14th Amendment does have certain rights given to people, but the issue is that it does not include sex in it. And the issue with that is that it diminishes the amount of protections and rights that women can have. And this can be seen in a lot of different cases where women have been sexually assaulted, harassed, or even discriminated against, and not being able to have the right justice or level of importance that is needed because of the lack of having sex found in the Constitution. To further add, having the term sex in the Constitution would also help in other important legal matters, as described by equalrightsamendment.org. For the first time, sex would be a suspect classification requiring the same high level of strict scrutiny and having to meet the high level of justification. Just as other rights have to go through a long series of procedures and investigative processes in order to find the proper amount of justice that is needed, the same thing could be done towards women. And so having sex included in the Constitution would help with that. And if that were to happen, it would make it very difficult for law or politicians to attempt to defy women's rights because of the long process that they would have to go through, and that I don't think many would want to go through that. And so that's why I feel that this Equal Rights Amendment should be added. In addition to the absence of equality in the Constitution, the perceptions of politicians and religious Americans also negates and downplays the seriousness of women's rights. This is seen as Chelsea Griffiths in the article, "In the Beginning Was the Word," explains that the literal interpretation of the Bible supports the review that God made the two sexes different and therefore politically unequal. The issue with this type of thought process is that it is initially stating that since the Bible states that men and women are different, then politically they are also different. And this downplays the seriousness of women and who fight for their rights because they are not really being taken seriously. And since religious groups do have a certain type of advantage over politics, it could severely hurt women even more. The same can be seen with a lot of different politicians, such as Supreme Court Justice Scalia, which is stated by Chelsea Griffiths from the article "The Equal Rights Amendment: What You Need to Know." Some conservative thinkers and theorists, such as Justice Antonin Scalia, have rejected reading the 14th Amendment to include sex, arguing that they do not reflect the original intent of the nation's founders. What this is saying again is that since sex is not included into the 14th Amendment, those who read the Constitution word by word without implementing our modern changes to it, just like Justice Scalia, it again downplays the importance of women's rights. As I explain the aspects of equality in the instances that surround it, my objective is to explain how it affects society in general. There is a major importance when it comes to the protections of one's rights, and so having it specifically stated in the Constitution ensures that every human being is deserving of equal rights. And so it is very, very important to have that on there. And it would not only ensure the current women's rights and equality, but it would also ensure the ones of future generations. Judging by the relatively old age of the Equal Rights Amendment, many may refute by stating that the amendment was proposed long ago, and so there should be a deadline for it. And while this really may be true, I feel that there have been other amendments that have gone through the same lengthy process and were ratified. For example, Anthony Walsh and Craig Hemmons state that there are older amendments besides the Equal Rights Amendment that have been ratified. For example, the 27th Amendment in 1992 concerning the pay raises for congressmen was actually introduced in 1789, so it took around 203 years to pass. So because of this, I feel that the same should be implemented towards the Equal Rights Amendment. In terms of the solution, I feel that there needs to be more focus and rallying towards this topic by removing the deadline for its ratification. While this has technically already been proposed in Congress, it has been stagnant for a while, so it's important to revert attention back to it. In addition to this, I feel that citizens should also work alongside politicians in order to help increase the process. And this could be done by drafting or requesting a bill to be prepared, because it could possibly help to resolve the issue further. Before doing this, however, I feel that a women's organization could also be created in order to educate other women about this process and therefore increase our support. And in addition to this, the representative that we would be working with would also co-sponsor the bill, because having their name on there would also further show its support and legitimacy. In the instance that it does work, there has been proof that this could be effective. For example, the article "Reform and Symbolism Are Not Enough, Equal Rights Means Justice, Gender Justice and Sexual Equality," Mary Frances Berry states that a similar strategy to the one I proposed by saying that the deadline should be removed in order to pass this ratification. As you're listening to my speech, you may be wondering how my solutions could work. And since there's already a deadline, asking for it may seem impossible. However, I fully believe that this can happen, since this amendment carries a large amount of importance with regards to rights. In my opinion, as I visualize the results, I feel that once this amendment is included in the Constitution, it would create vast opportunities for women, and not just women, but other people as well. It would also be serving as an example for other types of equality and justices for other people as well. To conclude, my call of action would be to really involve yourself as much as you can with regards to politics, and voice yourself as much as you can by educating yourself and seeing the things that are needed to be passed in current society. In addition to this, there are actually websites that you could go to with regards to updating yourself on what your state is doing. And since there are a certain amount of states that are needed to ratify this, which I believe are 38, people can go to the equalrightsamendment.org and see if their state has passed it. And if it hasn't, they could call their local representatives and ask for help on that situation. To conclude, the Equal Rights Amendment is an important right that all women must have. In fact, every human being deserves to feel protected and be safely protected by the law, and this amendment can provide us with that opportunity. In addition to this, I have a diagram that further states its support, with more people supporting it in recent years as opposed to the past. And I just believe that further shows the importance of this topic. And to end my speech, I would just like to show and ask people, and whether this may be exaggerated, but do women really want to be caged in? Or would they want to be more like Rosie the Riveter and have our rights passed?